Welcome to Serving with Success, Food Safety. The objectives of this module are to assure a written food safety plan for compliance with hazard analysis critical control point criteria. A sample hazard analysis critical control point model, or HACCP model, may be found on the Missouri Department of Elementary and Secondary Education website for assistance in development of a food safety plan. Participants will learn the 7 steps to build a HACCP plan, and also the importance of a temperature log and the recording of temperatures of all foods from the time of receipt throughout preparation and serving. The Missouri Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, or MODESE, has the responsibility to ensure that schools meet food safety requirements and reviews the LEA's written food safety plan for compliance with HACCP criteria, as well as local and state health standards.
HACCP, also known as HACCP, actually stands for Hazard Analysis Critical Control Points. It basically means your hazard analysis is you looking around your environment, the kitchen in which you operate, and seeing what kind of hazards exist within that environment. Your critical control points are the way in which you keep the food safe within those hazards.
All LEAs are required to have a written food safety plan at all sites where food is stored, prepared, or served for the purpose of the National School Lunch Program and School Breakfast Program. This program should contain standard operating procedures for the safe handling of food, from receipt to serving and storage of leftovers. The food safety plan should be in place to assure proper sanitation and safety is maintained in each food and nutrition service area. Before developing your food safety program, you should review the food service operations with your LEA and describe the facility, functions, and standard procedures for each one. Some basic information to consider when doing this initial review includes the types of meal service facilities at your LEA. Examine the existing standard operating procedures, the number of employees at each site, the types of equipment in use, the food preparation process, and the menu items being prepared. After describing the operations in your jurisdiction, the following steps will help you develop your food safety plan. Step 1. Develop, document in writing, and implement standard operating procedures. Step 2. Identify and document in writing all menu items, according to the process approach to hazard analysis critical control point. Step 3. Identify and document control measures and critical limits. Step 4. Establish monitoring procedures. Step 5. Establish corrective actions. Step 6. Keep records. Step 7. Review and revise your overall food safety program periodically. Step 1. Develop, document, and implement standard operating procedures, or SOPs. SOPs lay a strong foundation for your overall school food safety program. SOPs are the step-by-step written instructions for routine food service tasks that affect the safety of food. Some examples of topics for school food service are cooking potentially hazardous foods, cooling potentially hazardous foods, personal hygiene, receiving deliveries, washing fresh fruits and vegetables, washing hands. Each standard operating procedure should contain instructions, monitoring, corrective action taken, documentation, and periodic review of procedures of each SOP. Observe these policies when establishing standard operating procedures for these main categories. Personnel. Require hand washing after restroom use, sneezing, coughing, or cleaning. Develop a policy for restricting ill employees from food production or preparation sites. Product procurement. Follow recommendations from vendor selection. And develop buyer product specifications. Receiving. Reject cans with swollen sides or ends, flawed seals and seams, and with rust or dents. Immediately store perishable items. Storing. Store all food and paper supplies 6 to 8 inches off the floor. Label food with school name and delivery date. Transporting. Preheat transfer carts before use. Limit travel time to a maximum of 2 hours. Holding. Keep hot food at a temperature greater than 135 degrees Fahrenheit. Keep cold food at a temperature less than 41 degrees Fahrenheit. Preparation. Do not keep food in the danger zone temperatures between 41 degrees Fahrenheit and 135 degrees Fahrenheit for more than 4 hours. Handle food with utensils or gloved hands. Cleaning and sanitizing. Use clean water. Keep wiping cloths in a fresh sanitizing solution. Cooking and temping. Use a clean, sanitized thermometer. Record all temperatures when taken. Cooling. Cool rapidly by storing food in small batches and cover loosely. Pre-chill ingredients to be used in salad bars. Reheating. Use only cooking ranges, ovens, steamers, and microwaves to reheat foods. Transfer reheated food to hot holding equipment only when the food reaches the proper temperature. For example, this standard operating procedure for cooling potentially hazardous foods outlines the purpose and scope of these procedures, and then details the instructions for cooling hazardous foods properly, so as to avoid the risk of foodborne illness. It also includes instruction on monitoring during the cooking process, and corrective action to be taken if necessary. Finally, it details the verification and record-keeping requirements for this SOP. Step 2. Identify and document in writing all menu items according to the process approach to hazardous analysis critical control point. The process approach is a method of classifying food preparation into 3 categories, which are based on the number of times a menu item makes a complete trip through the temperature danger zone. Process 1 is no cook. Process 2 is same-day service. And Process 3 is complex food preparation. In no-cook food preparation, the menu item does not go completely through the danger zone in either direction. An example would be a salad, since salads are stored and served at cold temperatures. For same-day service food preparation, the menu item goes up through the danger zone during cooking and is then served. An example would be spaghetti. The meat would be cooked to a proper temperature of greater than 155 degrees Fahrenheit for 15 seconds, and held at a temperature greater than 135 degrees Fahrenheit for serving. Any unserved portion of the spaghetti is discarded. In complex food preparation, the menu item is both heated and cooled, making 2 or more complete trips through the temperature danger zone. An example would be leftovers, or food that is prepared and served at a later time and date. For example, chili, which would be cooked to the required temperature and then held at a temperature greater than 135 degrees Fahrenheit. Chili that was not served would then be cooled and held at a temperature less than 41 degrees Fahrenheit. To reserve the chili, it would be reheated to a temperature greater than 165 degrees and held for serving at a temperature greater than 135 degrees Fahrenheit. You should document the appropriate process for each menu item. This can be done in a variety of ways, including writing the process number directly on the recipe, or developing a list of menu items for each of the processes. In some cases, the menu item may not appear to fit any of the processes. These items should still be handled and prepared properly. Items such as cut and ready-to-eat fresh fruits and vegetables, served whole or on a salad bar, should be treated as Process 1 items and kept cold, less than 41 degrees Fahrenheit. The goal is to control hazards associated with Process 1 preparation and to prevent contamination through proper hygienic practices by food service employees. This includes no bare hand contact on ready-to-eat foods, such as fresh fruits and vegetables. Standard operating procedures for fresh fruits and vegetables should be included in your food safety plan. Guidance on receiving, storage, and preparation of whole fruits and vegetables and salad bar items can be found in Fruits and Vegetables Galore, U.S. Department of Agriculture Food and Nutrition Services 2004, which is available at the website shown. It is especially important to consider all steps taken for menu items that are prepared at one site and served at another in order to be aware of potential hazards and control for them. Many school districts use a combination of central and satellite kitchens. In these situations, the LEA must identify and categorize the appropriate overall food preparation process for menu items. The LEA must also develop a plan for each site involved in the preparation and service of the item, in order to clarify each site's responsibilities. Step 3. Identify and document control measures and critical limits. A critical control point is a key point in a step or process at which controls can be applied to avoid, eliminate, or reduce a food safety hazard to an acceptable level. LEAs must document in writing all critical control points, or CCPs, and also the critical limits for each process approach in the food safety program and each site plan. Each of the 3 processes in the process approach has specific CCPs, such as cooking, cooling, hot holding, cold holding, and reheating. The CCPs for each of these processes will be the same for all menu items. Each critical control point has boundaries that define safety. These critical limits are the time and/or temperature that must be achieved or maintained to control a food safety hazard. However, critical limits will vary depending on the menu item and recipe. When critical limits are not met, the food may not be safe. Following recipes exactly and maintaining them on file will fulfill the requirement for documenting critical control points and critical limits within the process approach specifically for these recipes, although CCPs are identified in each of the USDA recipes. It is important to consider the complete process used at each school or site. This will help determine the need for CCPs when modifying recipes and in the absence of recipes. For instance, a particular school may cool leftover chicken, although cooling may not be identified as an operational step in the recipe. Therefore, CCPs must be determined and documented for the cooling step. Consider the critical control point in process number 1, no-cook food preparation. The steps involved are receiving, storage, preparation, cold holding, and serving. In process number 1, the CCP occurs during cold holding. The temperature must be recorded when the food is received and stored. Cold holding or limiting time in the danger zone will inhibit bacterial growth and toxin production. Limit time to no more than 4 hours at room temperature and then discard. Without proper control, the temperature can enter the danger zone and food can become unfit for consumption. The steps involved in process 2, same-day service food preparation are receiving, storage, preparation, cooking, holding, and serving. The CCPs occur during cooking and holding. In process number 2, same-day service food preparation, the temperature must be recorded when food is received, and again when it is stored or in storage. The CCPs occur when the food is cooked to 165 degrees Fahrenheit for 15 seconds and held hot at a temperature of 135 degrees Fahrenheit or above. Cooking destroys bacteria and other pathogens. Hot holding or limiting time in the danger zone prevents the growth of spore-forming bacteria. The steps involved in process number 3, complex food preparation are receiving, storage, preparation, cooking, cooling, reheating, hot holding, and serving. The multiple CCPs that occur during process 3, complex food preparation are cooking, cooling, reheating, and hot holding. The temperature must be recorded when food is received and again as it is stored. The first CCP occurs when the food is cooked to 165 degrees Fahrenheit for 15 seconds and held hot at a temperature of 135 degrees Fahrenheit or above. The second CCP is when the food is cooled to 41 degrees Fahrenheit or below. The third CCP occurs when the food is reheated, again to 165 degrees Fahrenheit for 15 seconds. And the final CCP is the hot holding of the food at 135 degrees Fahrenheit or above. In the CCPs of process 3, complex food preparation, cooking destroys bacteria and other pathogens. Cooling prevents the growth of spore-forming bacteria. Hot and cold holding and limiting time in the danger zone inhibits bacterial growth and the formation of toxins. Reheating for hot holding destroys bacteria and other pathogens. Remember, in order to control food safety hazards, it is very important to pass food through the temperature danger zone as quickly as possible in order to control food safety hazards, and to follow all standard operating procedures during the receiving, storing, preparing, and serving of food. These documents from the Hazardous Analysis Critical Control Point Guidance Booklet detail the procedures of the 3 food preparation processes. The clipboard icons indicate at which point data should be recorded. The thermometer icons indicate when it is necessary to take the temperature of the food. The HACCP guidance booklet is available from the MoDESI website. Step 4. Establishing monitoring procedures. It is extremely important to establish monitoring procedures for an effective food safety program. Monitoring provides proof that food has been prepared, held, stored, and handled properly. Monitoring also allows for the tracking of foodborne illness if necessary. When establishing monitoring procedures, the LEA should determine how critical control points and standard operating procedures are monitored, when and how often CCPs and SOPs are monitored, and who is responsible for monitoring CCPs and SOPs. The critical limits associated with each CCP for each menu item. The critical limits associated with the final temperature and time measurements for each menu item. That monitoring equipment provides accurate measurements and is used properly. That scheduling of monitoring is appropriate to ensure hazards are being controlled. Individuals chosen to be responsible for a monitoring activity should be given the training and equipment necessary to properly perform the monitoring activities. If continuous monitoring equipment is used, it is important to calibrate the equipment and to monitor automated equipment and sensors. Each LEA is required to ensure that facilities for the handling, storage, and distribution of purchased and donated foods are properly safeguarded against theft, spoilage, and other loss. This includes on-site storage facilities, such as freezers, refrigerators, dry storage, and other areas. It also includes any off-site storage facilities the LEA may utilize, such as contracted or self-operated warehouses. Some conditions of proper food storage are temperature appropriate for the applicable equipment, such as refrigerators and freezers. Food stored 6 inches off the floor. Clean and neat food storage facility. Canned goods free from bulges, leaks, and dents. Chemicals clearly labeled and stored away from food and food-related products. Open bags of food stored in containers with tight-fitting lids. A first-in, first-out method of inventory management. And no obvious evidence of pests. Step 5. Establish corrective actions. Your food safety program must include corrective actions. Employees must be aware of these corrective actions and how to implement them. Whenever a critical limit is not met, a corrective action must be carried out immediately, and it must be documented. A corrective action may be simply heating food to the required temperature. Other corrective actions may be more complex, such as rejecting food items delivered at improper temperatures, or discarding food held too long without temperature control. This preventative approach is the heart of HACCP. Problems will arise, but it is important that they be identified and corrected before they cause illness or injury.
Food safety is about prevention. It's better to stop something from happening than to be scrambling to fix a problem that has grown out of proportion.
In this SOP example, a corrective action is necessary if the refrigerator temperature is above 41 degrees Fahrenheit. Then the refrigerator must be checked to determine if it is working properly. Also, the thermometer used to determine the temperature should be calibrated regularly and checked to ensure it is working properly. In this critical control point example, a corrective action is necessary if, when cooking raw poultry, the internal temperature does not reach 165 degrees Fahrenheit for 15 seconds at the end of the designated cooking period. The corrective action would be to continue cooking the chicken until the internal temperature reaches 165 degrees Fahrenheit for at least 15 seconds. Corrective action should be determined for all standard operating procedures and critical control points. A list of appropriate corrective actions must be included in your school food safety program. The following temperature log should be maintained and filed on site for 6 months. Food temperatures upon receipt. Food temperatures during preparation. Food temperatures during cooking and reheating. Food temperatures during serving. And food temperatures during cooling. Also, the temperature of all refrigeration equipment, such as milk coolers, freezers, and refrigerators, and the temperature of storage areas.
Temperature logs are what we use to monitor your equipment, the different things that you have to cool food, heat food, hold food at hot or cold temperatures. We need to monitor those to make sure that they're working at the optimum level so they're not compromising the food when we think they're working and they might not be working.
Step 6. Keep records. Certain documentation is necessary to verify that the food safety program is working. These records normally involve the food safety plan and any monitoring, corrective action, or calibration records produced in the operation of the food safety program based on HACCP's principles. Record keeping also provides a basis for periodic review of the overall food safety program. In the event your operation is implicated in a foodborne illness, the documentation of activities related to monitoring and corrective action can provide proof that reasonable care was exercised in the operation of your facility. Keep documentation as simple as possible in order to make record keeping easy for employees. For example, delivery invoices may be used to document product temperature when receiving food items. Keep in mind that employees can be an important source for developing simple and effective record-keeping procedures. Important records to keep include records documenting the standard operating procedures, time and temperature monitoring records, corrective action records, calibration records, training logs, receiving logs, and verification review records. These documents are important tools for proper record keeping and are included in the HACCP Guidance Book, which is available from the MODESI website. Step 7. Review and revise your overall food safety program periodically. To ensure the LEA overall food safety program is operating properly, it should be reviewed at least once a year, or as often as is deemed necessary. It should be revised to reflect any changes in your facility. These may include new equipment, new menu items, reports of illness or comments on health inspections, or other factors that indicate how well your food safety program is working. There should also be an ongoing review of activities described in your food safety program. This ensures the food safety program is operating as specified in each school's plan. Designated individuals and managers should periodically make observations of employees' monitoring activities and calibrate equipment and temperature measuring devices. They should review records and actions taken and discuss procedures with employees. These activities should occur regularly to verify the program is addressing food safety concerns, and if not, to identify what should be modified or improved. Determine who will review the current plan, when it will be done, and how it will be documented. Each school must receive at least 2 food safety inspections during each school year. If 2 inspections are not received during the school year, the LEA must make a documented request to the responsible agency for food safety inspections. The most recent food safety inspection report must be posted in a location visible to the public. The following practices contribute to a successful food safety program. Provide ongoing food safety training for all employees. Review food safety principles, including SOP guidelines for all employees on an annual basis. Require new employees, including substitute and volunteers, to complete initial food safety training before handling food. Maintain training and attendance records on all employees at each facility. Hold facility managers responsible for maintaining employee training standards. The success of a food safety program is dependent upon facilities, equipment, and people. The facilities and equipment should be designed and selected to promote safe food preparation and handling practices by employees. Managers and employees should be properly trained to reduce the occurrence of foodborne risk factors. Managers should consider obstacles such as high employee turnover or communication barriers when designing and implementing a food safety program. A food safety program is most effective when each employee knows his or her role and is committed to making it work. Now that you have finished viewing the food safety module, complete the following brief quiz.